So in this next section, we're going to look at assigning variables and naming them. So in order to store something in our variable, we have to use the equal sign. You may have noticed that in the program. And this equal sign, look in this next example, example 3, it takes what's on the right-hand side and stores it in what's on the left-hand side. Okay, so on the right-hand side is whatever the user's typed in into the input. And that's stored in name, and the next line down on the right hand side is just a bit of text, comp1753, and that's stored in the variable called course. So now we've got two variables and they're storing different things. And this equal sign is the way that we get the information from one place to another. Okay, name is typed in, course is fixed. These are two different ways of getting the information in. One is typed in by the user, the other is just fixed inside the program. And this act of storing some information inside the variable is known as assigning a value to the variable. Okay, it's not the same as in maths. So in maths, you read it as is equal to, I guess that's physics actually, E equals mc squared. The left-hand side is the same as the right-hand side. In programming, read the equal sign as is assigned the value. So in programming, you think of course equals comp1753 means course is assigned the value comp1753. Okay, and you can change what's stored in a variable. This is why it's called a variable, all right? So you store something in a variable, you can change what's stored in there, and this happens many, many times in lots of programs. So, for example, in this case, we've got a program. Let's see if we can work out what it does. So it prints out what is your name. The user types that in, and that's stored in the variable name, assigned to the variable name. And then the program says, no, what is your real name? So it's a bit of an irritating program, and it stores whatever the user types in next time. Okay, so it's reassigned the value of whatever the user types in. It might be the same thing, but could be completely different. Then it prints a line saying, I don't care, I'm going to call you Bob. And then it stores the word Bob in the variable name. So in this case, it's assigned, reassigned, and then reassigned to a fixed value, Bob, regardless of what the user's typed in. And then it prints out hello name, hello plus Bob. So if we run that, well, you can see it in this window. Actually, I won't run it. What is your name? The user's typed in Michelle Obama. The program doesn't believe the user, although it's got no reason to suspect that the user might be lying. So it says, what is your real name? And the user types in something else. And then the program says, I don't care, I'm going to call you Bob. And it stores, every time it's doing that, it's storing a different value in this name variable. So that's why they're called variables, because they vary as the program runs. Okay, and as we saw, we had two earlier on. A program can have lots of variables. So you could ask the user what's their first name, what's their last name, and then you can print those out. So here you'll see I'm printing out hello plus the first name plus a space plus the last name. Okay, and programs can have hundreds and thousands of variables. Each of them has to have a label so that they can be referred to. So if you notice there, the labels were first name and last name, because that's what we're asking the user for. And they can be whatever, but they could be whatever you want. So could be completely ridiculous, like fish or teapot, or just a random string typed in from the keyboard. However, there are some rules about how you name variables. Okay, so they want to be suggestive, right? So they should be suggestive of what they're going to store. But there are some rules. You must start with a letter or the underscore character in Python. That's pretty common for most languages. Most programming languages, you have to start with a letter or sometimes a special character. You can't start a variable name with a number. Okay, it has to be a letter or underscore, and it can only contain alphanumeric characters. So it can only contain A to Z, or A to Z in lowercase, or the numbers 0 to 9, or the underscore. Okay, so pretty restrictive. Some other languages allow you a bit more than that. And variable names are case sensitive. So if you have a name in lowercase, a name in title case with a capital N, a name in uppercase, those are three different variables. If you use them in your program, you've got three different variables going on. You can't use Python identifiers or what are called keywords. What are those things? Well, if you look at some of the programs we've looked at, we've seen things like from and import. So if you remember the turtle programs, from, turtle, import, and so on, you can't use those as variable names because they're special words that Python knows about. How do you know if you've got a special word? Well, idle will help you actually. If we go back to, let's have a look at one of those turtle programs, the turtle square. Let's open it up in idle. So notice these special keywords. Import turtle as T. Import and as are identifiers or keywords. They're sometimes known as, and they're in idle. They're identified in orange. Okay, so if you see something in orange, you can't use that as a variable name. There's a whole load of others that we can't use: if, else, true, for, while. We'll see them all later on. Basically, if you try to use one of those as a variable name, you'll get an error, and you'll see it in idle. It'll be printed in orange. So just be aware of that. There's a very useful website. I don't think I've mentioned it before. A very useful website called W3 Schools. It's original for web languages, but actually they've got a load of pages on Python, and there's a page there that I recommend having a look at called Python Variables, and it'll give you some more exercises and more things to look at, more details if you want more details about that. Okay, naming convention. So those are the rules. Has to start with a letter or an underscore. The conventions. So if you've got a variable that isn't going to change, that is going to change. Excuse me. If that is going to change, then you usually do that in lowercase. So you would use name in lowercase rather than name with a title case. And if you've got a number of words that you want to run together, you put underscores between them. So first name rather than just one word, first name. It just makes it easier for other programmers to read. If you've got a variable that's you're not expecting to change, so something that's constant, then you use uppercase. So something like VAT, if you're writing some sort of financial program where you've got to calculate some money, value-added tax, VAT, you would normally put that, because that doesn't usually change. It does occasionally, but not very often. You would put that in uppercase, so VAT or value-added tax with underscores. And again, if you've got a load of words, put underscores between them, because that value-added tax with underscores is much easier to read than if they're all run together as one word. And basically, the rule is about how you name them is that you want to make them nice and concise, so they're easy to understand. So they don't take up a huge amount of space, and you haven't got a lot of typing to do. But they've got to be meaningful. So first name and last name is much better than say N1 and N2, because N1 and N2, when you come to look at your program again in a few months' time and you've forgotten what it did, N1 and N2 aren't going to mean anything to you, whereas first name and last name probably are. Okay, so quick check. Which of those are legal variable names? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to look down that list, which are legal. And the answer is, well, the first one isn't, because it's got a space. Okay, we're not allowed spaces. The second one is. The third one is, okay, it's just letters. Fourth one is, it's just letters. Fifth one is, because it starts with an underscore. Sixth one isn't, because it's got a dollar at the beginning. We can't have dollars. We can have underscores. We can't have dollars. And the seventh one isn't, because it's got a number at the beginning. So pretty much any letters, any underscores, but you can include numbers, but not at the beginning of the name of the variable. Okay, and which of them are legal and follow naming conventions? And the answer is only the second one there, because as you can see, the other ones, I've run the words together. The ones that are legal, first name, first name, first name, these three in the middle here, I've run the words together. They're legal. Python won't complain, but if you're working for a firm and you're doing programming, The boss might complain because they'll say that there's no, it doesn't follow naming conventions. It makes it harder for other programmers to read. And often you want to think, when you're writing programs, you want to make them easy for other programmers and yourself to read, so that when you come back to them, or when somebody else is looking at your program, they're able to understand it easily. Okay, I'm going to stop this video here, and next up we're going to look at using some numbers.